I have been joined by Gabriella Tetteh, who is a National Communications Team member of the NDC. And we are also expecting Lawuratu Musah Saaka, who's also a member of the Communications Team member of the NPP. Good morning, Gabriella, and Happy New Year, Happy New Decade.
Many happy returns.
How was your holidays?
Very well.
What did you do? Did you party with the Year of Return people?
No. I miss them. Too much traffic. I hate traffic. And I live in the outskirts. So coming into Accra, by the time you get to East Legon and the traffic all the way to 37, it was
crazy.
Like, nah,
you're not going to do
crowd.
It. But how was your Constitution Day yesterday?
What happened yesterday? I went out giving out gifts.
Okay.
To those that couldn't give gifts to during Christmas.
Okay.
And then visiting some few friends.
But what are your thoughts on that holiday?
I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Because, this is our longest serving constitution.
Yeah.
And more or less, we've come to embrace democracy. Mm-hmm. Unless we ourselves make mistakes, that will take us back. Mm-hmm. I don't see what the road ahead should be any blurred.
Yeah.
Once we've accepted that's what we want to do. But I think that the education on the Constitution itself is a bit lacking. Okay. So NCC has to set up. Again, there are issues with the Constitution that we went for the constitutional review. We need to revisit it and amend the Constitution so we can progress with this Fourth Republic. If you look at the countries whose democracies have survived over centuries, like the US and the UK and all these other big democracies, they consistently undertake reviews and then amend their constitution,
As they see
if you look at the U.S. elections, for example, whenever they go voting for their president, they also have all these other considerations, whether gay rights should be approved in which states, and all these issues are brought up at the election day for people to vote on. And those responses are amended in the Constitution. And that's how you progress a democracy. But if we're going to leave everything to sit with Parliament and every day bills and amendments, and we don't allow the people who own the Constitution to drive the Constitution, the narrative always you hear with people telling you, and this democracy cry, we don't even see what it's doing for us. And, I used to think that it was a problem with political communication. But then the more I thought through it, I figured, no, NCC has to do better because they are the ones with a mandate to educate.
So you think the general public can't necessarily connect with
aside from knowing that nobody has gone to Ghana Broadcasting to overthrow the president, I don't know what. You should listen to radio. Yesterday I was listening to, I kept switching from station to station, and the people's responses was interesting.
So we should do more.
We should do more. If this is, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a better option for us. I always think that if I know that the people being offered to me as president are three thieves, it's for me to choose the lesser
of the
three thieves. That's my choice. You can choose to go for the finest of the thieves. I would choose the lesser of the thieves. It is better for me than to sit there and then tomorrow morning I'm told Ghana has a new president. What happened? Somebody went to Ghana Broadcasting and overthrew a government. The person who came, we know nothing about this individual, what his past record is, nothing about his character, his integrity. And then they come, and like so many countries, especially in Africa, that have had military leaders that have gone with people's monies. And corruption is always an issue when it comes to military takeovers.
Yeah.
I think this is the best option for us. And so we should do everything to make sure that it grows and we can live through it for centuries and develop within that democratic process.
Thank you for that. So we'll take a look at our first story, and I'm reading from citinewsroom.com. It says here, CID tasked to probe alleged theft of 400 tricycles at Northern Development Authority. So this issue started a couple of months ago, and I'll read the story to provide some background, and then we'll continue. The Criminal Investigations Department has been tasked to investigate circumstances under which some 400 tricycles were allegedly stolen from the Northern Development Authority's yard. The CID, in a statement signed by its regional crime officer, K. Oto Echampong, requested that some persons be released to assist in the investigations of the missing tricycles. This investigation follows a letter filed by the then acting chief executive officer of the authority, Dr. A.M. Harun, chronicling how the tricycles were stolen. So he, of course, sent a letter out saying that some youth groups came in to take the tricycles without his permission or anybody else's permission. Those tricycles weren't even supposed to be in the place that they were kept, but these young people just came and took 400 tricycles. How they were able to get away with it, no one knows, but now CID is investigating it, and we also know that he was relieved of his position a month ago, actually. So on the 12th of December, his appointment was revoked. The youth group went there on October, took 400 tricycles that they had no permission to take, and he came out sounding like it's all out of his hands. You know, he reported it as he should have, but now CID is investigating the matter. Gabriella, your thoughts on this missing 400 tricycles?
It's scandalous. I mean, how do you move 10 40-footer containers without any authorization, without any, not really authorization, because they got some authorization. It wasn't legitimate authorization, but it was some authorization. Without legitimate authorization. These are state assets.
Yeah.
Those tricycles were procured under the NDC administration. If you go to the north, for example, these tricycles are in high demand because they use them for agricultural purposes, for ambulances, for logistics. They move goods from the market space. Even in Akua here, you see them carrying water. Some people use them for waste management. It's people's livelihoods. And the purpose of that whole program was not just allow people to have access to cheaper logistics, but also to provide jobs. And these projects are actually run by young people.
Yeah.
So to have, from the history of this whole debacle, I mean, to have a whole party chairman with the audacity to commandeer people to go to estate assets and move containers just like that, without, according to the story or the history of whatever happened, those containers were only approved to be moved after payment of the tricycles. And he had approval for 200 tricycles. Now, I haven't read anywhere that says that he had paid for the 200 tricycles. Not to speak of now commandeering 400 out. And you don't know where those containers are. Every container has a serial number, a unique ID. If you've been in logistics before, each container, wherever it is, whether it's for Maersk, Penalpina, whichever line, has a unique ID that you can track. So it's not a question of they just going missing like that. There has to be some data. So they were not
stolen or missing?
There has to be some proof or tract of where exactly they went to. Now, I've heard that even beyond these 400 tricycles, there are also some 200 motorbikes. That's 200 extra tricycles and 700 motorbikes that are also not accounted for under the NDA. I mean, in the NDC administration, when JIDA, with all its challenges, came to bear, I mean, what language and what didn't the media, civil society, everybody say about how we're mismanaging state funds through JIDA? The aspect of JIDA under SADA. Now, fast forward how many years now? 4 or 5 years. And something that you're supposed to use to help young people get jobs, provide employment for themselves, economic livelihoods, and then one individual can just commandeer because he's a party chairman. We have to stop this nonsense in this country.
Okay, so it was by the party chairman who ordered these young people to go to...
He owns the company.
He didn't mention who came. He just said the young people came without his permission. And we can take a look at that briefly, what the NDA boss, the former boss, had to say of how these tricycles were missing. So I'm going to read from him briefly. He says, movement of Northern Region co-assignment of tricycles. I write to make a formal complaint that about 400 pieces of tricycles that were meant for Northern Region have been taken away without my permission or the permission of any of my staff. They made it known to my officers at the point of collection that this was part of the Northern Region co-assignment. I was informed that these containers were moved on the 27th of October by a youth group in Tamale. Sir, at this point, we request your support for security to secure the goods wherever they are held to ensure that the containers in which they are held are not tampered with. Since the consignment belongs to the Northern Region, Honorable Minister, you have first right to call upon them, and we stand to be directed by you on what action is to be taken. Honorable Regional Minister, you may recall that we have in the past asked that a combined police and military support was required to secure the distribution of these machines. I will be grateful if you could give the NDA an audience as soon as possible to strategize with us on how best to resolve this issue. So this was addressed to the Honorable Regional Minister. And then he goes on to write another letter to the... He reports on the distribution of the tricycles, and again goes on to talk about how these young people came in without his permission. So he never quite actually says the person who ordered the young people to take it. It just comes across as some hooligans who just decided we're going to capture
there's a history to
10 tricycles.
This movement. They had
10
consignments, beyond 10 containers at NDA. When this administration came into office, their policy was that those tricycles should be sold. And they were to be distributed amongst the northern regions. So, Upper East...
We'll get theirs.
Upper West, I'm still not conversant with the new regions.
It's okay.
I'm old school.
No worries.
You know,
so each of those parts will get their own tricycle.
And there's a due process to follow. And all the other regions follow due process, except the northern region. Now, further investigations into what really transpired came out that the company, the NDA, was supposed to send the allocations to the regional ministers. And then they transmit to whoever comes and procures the consignments.
And they failed to do that.
And they failed to do that in Northern Region. The other regions did it, except Northern Region. The company that expressed interest in this, and that is reported to have gone ahead and accepted those tricycles, is called Samlink, which is owned by the Northern Regional NPP chairman.
Okay, so that's...
All right. Now, again, these supposed hooligans.
Oh, no, the young people. I'm the one that used that assumption.
We apologize.
The young people.
We apologize, young people. So these young people, how can young people, the ones you see here, mobilize themselves and just decide to go and march to a state property and go and take out items from the state without security in that institution protesting against it? Isn't that stealing? It is stealing.
So why didn't he outrightly say they stole? He uses his words very carefully.
You know,
they took them without my permission.
He's a public official appointed by a government in power. He has to be careful the kind of language that he uses.
But if they stole, they stole.
But you can't go right and say they stole. Even the letter that he came out to the court, they still took away his appointment from him.
Okay. Do you think he should have been fired the way he was?
No, I think he should have stayed there. And then that's the more reason why this was a scandal. I mean, there's no way you can massage and camouflage and do whatever you want to do with it. It's unfortunate that they are
but you just said a couple of minutes ago that the other regions did what they were supposed to do as far as sending the tricycles
to the RM.
The northern region did it.
Private enterprise
shouldn't he be held accountable
a private enterprise applies. We want so many tricycles. You make payment for it. The tricycles are allocated to you.
Yeah.
Northern region alone. What exactly is it about these people who operated in this thing within the northern region alone? And who are the personalities involved in this thing?
Well, now they are being investigated by the CID.
I hope it's not going to be another one that we get a report and then we are told that Uncle will clear them and come and give us another excuse that the explanations given were not strong enough to warrant punitive action.
Which one are you referring to?
The president.
This one? Okay. So you think that after the CID conducts this investigation, we might not get the results that we want from this?
I know the CID will do their job. I expect them to do their job. But, you know, history from 2019 have showed us that in this country, whenever there are scandals investigated, there's always a grandfather who whitewashes everybody and sends them back. Okay. Don't do it again. Go back and work.
Is this reference to Ayawaso West?
All of them. Okay. Ayawaso West, the Ministerial Committee on Galamsey, the Australia visa issue. All of them are whitewashed.
But how do we get to a point where people are held accountable, especially the young people themselves who march there to do that? They can't take the laws into their own hands and do what they want.
Very important. That is why heads must roll.
People accountable.
That is why heads must roll. We can't continue in this country where people behave anyhow and then authority just allows everything to go just like that. You have to, you see, you're building a society, and societies are built on discipline. If I know that if I act contrary to ABC and I show deviant behavior, there are rules that will take me on. Who I know shouldn't matter. What my name is shouldn't matter. What is wrong is wrong. That is the society that we should be building. The guy who goes and steals someone's plantain in the farm because he's hungry, you charge him and put him in Sawam because he couldn't afford food 5 cedis. But people can scheme and do away with monies in millions. And then you have a government that doesn't see anything wrong with this kind of attitude. Honestly, this NPP government, anyway, we're not
doing politics with it. But on a more serious note, these are 400 tricycles that could have enhanced the productivity of the people in that community, brought them monies, and now we have no idea where they are. How do we ensure that this does not happen in future? Because there are thousands of lives that were dependent on these tricycles.
We will know where they are, because I own some of these tricycles, so I have an idea what they. You see, all these tricycles come with chassis numbers.
Okay.
So, if those tricycles are in this country, wherever they are, it's up to the security beyond investigating the people involved, because we need those tricycles back until they're paid for. And if we're not going to find those tricycles, then whoever mandated those people to move those tricycles has to pay for those tricycles. And I think the media has to follow this story and demand that it comes to the final conclusion. Some of these things, we shouldn't brush it over. We have to be disciplined. And we have to make sure that the law covers everybody. Everybody faces it rightly. These chassis numbers, every single tricycle has its own chassis numbers, that's what I was saying. So the security agencies, whether it's MTTU, and again, when you go and register your tricycle, you have to register with DVLA.
Okay.
And your DVLA papers will show your number. So I expect that the NDA should also provide further information on what the chassis numbers of these 400 tricycles. And those tricycles, whether it's in Tamale or it's Yendi or Gusika or wherever it is, they should start looking for those tricycles. Either those tricycles are returned back to NDA or they are paid for. But we can't sit and let people come and marshal state resources and just do away with it and think that it's state resources for the people of Ghana. It's not for NPP. It is for the people of Ghana. It is the people of Ghana in aggregate, not individuals. So you can't walk into any state agency and just go and take anything you want, and it is criminal, and it has to be treated as a criminal offense. After an investigation, honestly, I'm very disturbed about this story. That's because I'm getting emotional about this whole thing. We have too many of such reports over the years, and a time has to come that leadership of this country has to be responsible. We should be more serious about governance in this country. We come with political systems with the aim that some people, with the aim that you want to see this country develop. And then you have elements within that system that are also sitting there thinking about how they are also going to enrich themselves. We can't continue like this. You want to build a beautiful country. The world is moving, and we have to move with the world. We can't be held back by corruption and nepotism and greed and people's self-interest and self-seeking behavior. It is totally not on.
But the way the former CEO of the NDA even reported the issue, it sounded as though he was trying to stay as safe as possible, right? A crime of this magnitude should have been reported exactly the way it happened.
You know, before even he would write, I'm very sure he would have had conversations with people in authority about this matter. He would have had conversations with his board would know about it. They would talk to the regional minister, who they report under. The original minister should have done something about it. It was silence. And so he then wrote requesting for all these things to be done. Admirably, for him to even come out and expose it, I think that we should give him some credit. Because a lot of ills go unnoticed or it's reported late because people who should know better cover up.
But at what point do we put the interest of the people we are serving before the interest of the people in our parties or the people who are powerful enough that we don't want to offend? Because these tricycles could have really transformed the lives of people.
And there's a lot. 400 is a huge number. You see, you live in a society where we have individual differences and idiosyncrasies. You as an individual, per your own values, issues of integrity will matter strongly to you because you're a principled person. You won't mind that something will happen in this station, for example, and everybody will be going in one tangent, and you alone will decide that I'm against this, and then you speak up because I've been watching you for some time, and I think you can be a very strong individual. So I don't think that is beyond you. But there are some people who are afraid of even their own shadows and will not be willing to even expose a fly because those kind of attitudes. It's an individual thing. But again, in governance is leadership. And leadership has certain outputs that is expected for everybody to know that indeed you're a leader. One of those is upholding strong positive values, because that is what people will look at and say, I want to be led by this person. I want to be led by this person. I want to be led by this person. And even you, the individual, it speaks volume about your own brand moving forward as an individual. So political actors, political and public service actors, I think that we should show more interest in building up a certain character built on strong values and standing up for the country before our political affiliations. When we do that, and everybody knows that as for this person, hey, this one, if you send this issue to this person, she will or he will. Typical example, Martinamidu, before he has started having issues with the Special Prosecutor Office. I think that is a good lead for him. I'll, not that I've even mentioned his name. I'll be interested to see what he can do about this story, because these are state properties. You know, and even like that, everybody knew that, everybody knows
he's a man
of integrity and strong character.
Yeah.
And he'll go against the system when it matters to speak strongly what he feels and what he thinks. That those individuals exist. And that when we come across those people, I think that we have to sustain them and encourage them, and protect them. Because in this country, it's becoming difficult to speak the truth, especially truth to power. They don't want to hear. Whether you like it or not, you hear it.
On that note, we'll go for a quick break. This is still Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. If you're watching us on Facebook, do also comment. If you're on other social media platforms, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily. If you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550585832. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, when we started, I did tell you that Lawuratu Saaka was supposed to join us. She's the communications member of the NPP, and she's here with us. Good morning. Happy New Year. How was your holiday?
Restful. Because I'm a Muslim too, there was no pressure. Because the best excuse is I don't celebrate Christmas.
So you don't have to buy gifts for anybody?
Well, we try to, but sometimes it was restful. Okay. Good enough.
How was your holiday yesterday?
It was good. Okay. I mean, a good day to observe, and the significance of that day every 4 years also gives one the opportunity to do a proper reflection, and also psych yourself to contribute better to the development of our nation. Okay. Because that's all we have.
Definitely. So take a look at our second story here. We're talking about the ambulances. Now they're going to be commissioned on the 28th of January, 2020. I'm reading from page 17 of the Ghanaian Times, and it says here, Ambulances to be commissioned January 28th. The ambulances parked in front of the State House will be commissioned and deployed regardless of if they have all arrived in the country or not. That's coming from the Health Minister, Kweku Ajiman Menu. A ceremony to begin the distribution of the ambulances initially set for 6th January was postponed following a request from the National Ambulance Services and endorsed by the Health Ministry. So we all know that it was supposed to happen on the 6th, it didn't happen, and now we're moving it to the 28th. And the Health Minister is saying, come what may, they are going to be commissioned. Let me hear from you on this ambulance story, because we all know that some people were expecting it to be, out even in December, not just January. And now we said 6th January, we're moving it to the 28th. Your initial thoughts on this ambulance situation?
Before I even start, I like the interest that this particular intervention has generated. That also shows that, because what I believe in, nobody really pays attention to what is not significant and what they feel will not inure to the benefit of the nation. Mm-hmm. The postponement, I think, even though people were elated waiting for the distribution on the 6th, I think we are better off with a postponement that will give us user-friendly and fit-for-purpose ambulances than having a distribution of an ambulance that will have to go and be parked at wherever it's going, whichever station it will be in the constituency, and not be used and wait for another 2 or 3 months to get it used. 28th January is not too far off, about 2 weeks. And we've all been assured that what is needed in an ambulance will be fixed in there, all the systems, the tracking devices, because we've had a challenge over the years with the general emergency care or pre-hospital care services in this nation. And I think that this is an intervention in the right direction, which we all must applaud. Irrespective of the delays and all that, at the end of the day, we should all be confident that we'll get ambulances that are fit for purpose. To add to that, even with these ambulances, I don't think the National Ambulance Service doesn't have ambulances running around. Apart from that, St. John's Ambulance 2 is there. They do their own thing. The other private ambulances.
Well, we have just about 50 for a country of almost 30 million.
Yes, Dziffa, but that doesn't mean that the whole pre-hospital care or ambulance service has grounded to a halt because these ambulances haven't been distributed.
But the issue is, this time last year, the thing that bothers a lot of people is this time last year we knew we were going to get ambulances, right? And then in September, we got the first batch.
Yes.
Ambulances are tackling issues of emergencies.
Yes.
A couple of months ago, we reported a young woman giving birth in the middle of the bush because she didn't have an ambulance on a terrible road. So if we've received the first batch in September, why must we wait till January to commission and then move it to January 28th when we know that people are dying now and they can have access to these ambulances?
All the lives that are being lost is regrettable. It's not something that anybody wishes for. And I don't think His Excellency, the President, sits down there and just enjoys holding on to the ambulances.
So why are we holding on to them?
But Dziffa, at the end of the day, an ambulance is not like a phone or any ordinary car. You go to the showroom and pick it. Attention to detail, making sure it's fit for purpose is a priority.
But if you've known since January 2019, ambulances are coming. First batch arrived in September.
Yes.
From September to January, any due diligence you need to do, any attention to detail you need to do, could have been done so that at least by October, November, people have access to these ambulances, aside coming out to say, well, I don't want to be critiqued for distributing it to certain people and not other places.
We are having issues in this country because of this piecemeal approach to most of our interventions.
Even when it comes to cases of emergency?
And building our systems piecemeal. So we always have to go back. So let's say we rush.
Not necessarily rushing.
Dziffa.
I want to make sure you're answering my question.
Yes.
So if things are arriving in batches,
yes,
first batch, second batch, third batch,
yes,
does it make sense to assume that you can deal with the first batch when they arrive and give yourself a timeline that at least by October they'll be fit for purpose and people can use them?
There are timelines like we are talking about now. Said January was supposed to be the distribution. Things have come up. Let's bear in mind that ambulances are not just ordinary vehicles that you pick. They were coming in batches. That's coming into the country. Look at the litany of things that have been listed by the ambulance service to be ensured. Thankfully, with all these things, all the providers, all the institutions responsible are on. And it's not like nothing has been done. The batches are working out. But what I'm saying is, let's have it. Do a proper installation. Do proper assessment of these things. They come in batches. So what if we share the first batch? Install the systems there in a hurry. Share the first batch, and we'll have to recall them and upgrade them or do something.
But respectfully, that wasn't the president's excuse for not distributing the ambulances. He categorically said he didn't want a case where people will feel as though certain districts have ambulances and they don't.
But,
that was the excuse. And is that enough
that's
for
what
something
that's
that's
what we are
addressing
talking
a case
about.
of emergency?
Like I said, an ambulance is just not any ordinary car. So if you go, just because people are putting pressure on you, the president goes there, vehicles there are not fit for purpose. People are putting pressure on him because the first batch have come. He goes to distribute them. And they have vehicles, not ambulances.
Is it an issue of
lack
of planning
don't let
or
us just
Russian?
Let's just... Dziffa,
because what I'm saying is we've known since January.
Yes.
If we know now that we're going to buy an ambulance, before they even arrive in September, we have trained the paramedics. We've assembled everything we need. As soon as they hit the ground, they are running because we know that these ambulances are meant for cases of emergency. And emergencies don't wait. If I were caught in a fire right now in September, I can't wait till January to say, now I have a solution, so let me be treated. I will die on the spot. Are we attaching the level of necessity to this issue and urgency?
If we are not attaching a level of necessity and urgency to this intervention, then we would have rubbished what the ambulance service said. Would have rubbished what the Ministry of Health said. This is a government that has the people at heart. Like I said, the health of the people is a priority. You don't meddle with it. You don't just joke with it. You just don't give people vehicles just because you want to give them branded ambulances. They go and sit in them, and they are not ambulances. They are branded ambulances, but they are not ambulances. Look, before I came in, you were discussing the SADA, now NDA, tricycle issue, right? I can tell you for a fact that agric is a matter of urgency in the northern sector because that is our mainstay, right? These tricycles were brought in. 3,000 assembled, 2,000 were not assembled. Didn't they know that, right? Now the issue has come back. They are bundling all kinds of things up. 400 allegedly have been taken away. There are all kinds of stories. The right thing that's supposed to be done has been done. The institution in charge of investigating these things has been asked to do it. We can't even go back. We are still waiting for all those things that flew away, all those trees that died. These issues and all that. I will not belabor the fact that ambulance service is essential. Pre-hospital care is essential. Emergency service is essential. But let's do it right, get it right, and not just give people machines because we want to give them machines. Let's give them ambulances that are ambulances and fit for purpose. Not that president goes to give ambulances because first batch has come and in a week or two they are grounded because they are not fit for purpose. People are dying and people are dying, which is regrettable. But the worst will be when we go and give them ambulances that are not fit for purpose, with us being confident that people will be taken care of before they get to the hospital and they die on those ambulances.
Thank you very much. Gabriella, we're discussing the commission of ambulances on the 28th of this month. And of course, we're saying that let's ensure that it's fit for purpose, not rushing for people to get access to them.
This government behaves like in this country, we've never had ambulances procured for the health sector before. ambulances fit for purpose. So there are 50 in circulation now that are currently operational. Are they not fit for purpose?
Well, there are people who have said that when you go inside, half of the things you're supposed to get in an actual ambulance, you don't find them in there.
The things you don't find in an actual ambulance, even when you go to your health institutions, apart from the big hospitals like the Kolebu, the 37, the Ridge, and the rest, when you go to the district level hospitals, do you find very sophisticated equipment in those clinics? There are various grades
to things.
To things. Now, in the NDC administration, we invested $2 billion into the health sector. Our records is there to show. We provided hospitals. Even our appointees sacrificed 10% of their salaries so that we could expand more on infrastructure, providing CHIPS compound. We had a project called the Belstar Project that came up with this Onyado vans. I'm sure you've heard about those vans. Currently, they are being left to rot. Those vehicles were supposed to fill a certain gap. They're supposed to go out and do community outreach so that those communities that do not have health centers, these vans will then provide health services to them. They are left to rot. And all we hear every single day is waiting for some pomp and pageantry for some 300 ambulances, which every day all we get is, and let them sit there because the rest have not arrived. The rest are not. People are dying. People have to put their family members into taxis, into trotros. Every day you see them in traffic with horns blaring, give them space, so they can access healthcare. You have health facilities that themselves, even the big ones, don't even have enough functional ambulances. Not even speak of the Ghana ambulance services and the ambulances. Over the past how many years, this ambulance service started, I think, under NPP administration, under President Akua.
How many ambulances did we get under NDC? Because we still had these problems.
We still have these problems. I'm coming back into why we have to look at the bigger context than what this whole pomp and pageantry is about.
Okay.
You made me lose my thoughts.
Sorry.
So
you're talking about COFOR?
Yes, under the NPP administration. That's why we started this whole ambulance services. Fast forward, almost 15, 16 years later, we are still here grappling with just 15 units of a vehicle and then celebrating 300, which are yet to be operationalized. Are we serious as a country? Are we? I find it very embarrassing that we are even doing politics with this.
Well, the health minister said they were not doing politics with it. They just wanted to ensure that you got everything you needed, right? From the point of calling the number, the emergency number, till getting to the hospital. So they're just making sure everything is done. And the last thing they want to do is play politics with our health.
It's not true.
You don't believe it?
Every action they've taken so far is politics.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
If you are bringing in 307, I believe, for each constituency, this was, don't forget, this is supposed to be in response to a campaign promise. And that's the more reason why he wants to have a big pageant.
I don't... Okay, continue.
So, during the NDC administration, let me know if you're going to edit. Let's deal with it right now. You have health centers like 37 that have how many ambulances? Like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If we were a serious country, we shouldn't even be rejoicing over 300 ambulances.
Why?
We should have minimum 500 ambulances all over the country.
But my question is, the NDC had power for, 8 years? How many ambulances did we bring into the country to solve this issue? Because we still had issues of people dying. We had issues of mothers being put in taxis to give birth in the hospitals. We had all these problems under the NDC.
I agree with you.
How did you solve this issue?
I agree with you, but the priority,
wasn't it a priority
but the priority of the NDC was look at the physical infrastructure, not just ambulances.
Yes, but that's still part of the problem because you have emergency services at all times. People have emergencies.
But when you have emergency services and you have an ambulance, but there's no health service in close proximity to the ambulance, what happens to your patient?
Okay, so NDC
can't guarantee
to
that
the ambulance bid
they
and
did not neglect.
Okay, so what did you do to solve the problem?
Don't forget that we did procure during the last 2-3 years of the administration. We procured some ambulances which they left at the military barracks. I don't remember the number.
Okay.
I don't keep those calculations in my head. But which were left at the Burma camp because they said that they came as empty shells, and those vehicles came in. There were the ancillary parts that were supposed to have also followed up so that they were fixed here, assembled here, finalized here. They did not wait for the process to continue. They decided that as long as they only saw the shells of the vehicles, then that meant that is what an ambulance is. I mean, are we so dumb and stupid that we'll go and bring empty vehicles and call them ambulances? You don't think that we know that the people of Ghana deserve better, and that is what an ambulance should be.
Okay.
Final analysis. Look, we have over 1,000 units health centers, CHIPS compounds, health facilities, hospitals that were supposed to have come up with almost 6,000 beds operational that are still locked up in the bush because we are failing to complete these projects. Ambulances, fine. I'll give you credit. That was 50-50 ambulances clearly for a population of 30 million is woefully inadequate.
So shouldn't you be commending this government for at least attempting to solve the problem?
I commend them for bringing in that to bring in those ambulances, but I'm not going to recommend them for wanting to do pomp and pageantry with it.
Okay. Thank you. I'll allow you to respond and we'll move on to the final topic.
It's quite amazing for a representative of a government that was being... I tried so much to make this a national issue, but trust NDC to bring in Carlos. And I don't know, but I just want them to take note that the fact that you're opposition doesn't mean you need to oppose everything. This is the health of the nation.
But she just said she commends the government for
you had to bring it in. She could have done that before going on about pomp and pageantry. And it's not about pomp and pageantry. It's about doing the right thing. Look, and she admitted that this whole ambulance service thing was started with the MPP. That was during President Kufuor's regime. And I know for a fact that ambulance service started as a unit, and because of the importance of it, has been upgraded to an agency level. It just left with the laws, the acts to make it totally.
But there are some Ghanaians who genuinely feel as though there's some pomp and pageantry to it, especially since the president himself came out when he was asked, what are we doing with the ambulances? And he said, we are waiting to get them all. It just sounded as though you're trying to fulfill a campaign promise of one district, one ambulance, as opposed to saying, we want to do our due diligence and all of that. But if you say you don't want to be critiqued for giving some to people and others, this is an emergency solution.
You're going back to this issue. I've already explained to you that when he says he doesn't want to give people ambulances and be critiqued.
Doesn't that look
That's what
like
I'm telling you. That it's not like
type of
pomp and pageantry. It's making sure that all that you're giving out is what you've promised to give the people. And when you say it's a campaign promise, what was His Excellency voted for? He was voted for because of the things he promised to come and do. So saying it's a campaign promise, I think, is neither here nor there.
But you do agree with me that a solution for a regular problem that might require cutting of sword and all that extra is different from a solution to an emergency situation. And
that is what we are doing.
And they shouldn't be treated the same.
I'm sure you've seen all the things that have been written that have to be done. And in this day and age, you can't just give people vehicles that you can't even
that are not
monitor. You can't give people vehicles. These are ambulances. They are ambulances, not vehicles that you can just pick from the showroom or phones you can just pick off the shelf, right? And for my sister here to say we have just 50, we had more than 50, right? But along the way, because of wear and tear and all that, you asked her how many they added on. They bought vehicles supposed to be ambulances. How many did they add on? She couldn't tell you. How many did they buy? She couldn't tell you. But she knows the number that we have bought. Isn't it interesting? You don't know the number you bought for 8 years.
Well, they were also bringing in the cars too. The cars you mentioned were.
But at least she knows the number that we are bringing in. How come she doesn't know the number?
But she also pointed out that they were solving a specific issue within that health chain.
If they really thought that there was no need for all that, why didn't they distribute the cars when they brought them in before the ancillary parts? You see, we need
because
to
they were incomplete vehicles.
We need to.
They were going to assemble them here. According to
Gabriella, the health issues of this. For 8 years, for such an important sector, for 8 years, you brought in 7 ministers. President Kufuor kept a minister for over 6 years because of the importance of the thing. The Minister of Health here has been there since Nana Addo's tenure, and he's still there. That is how important it is. Health, you can't just be flip-flopping and changing people to come in with the ideas. And
you shouldn't be moving dates of commission as well, right? If you're dealing with health, especially when you have batches that have arrived.
Well, Dziffa, that one is a bit
of a stretch.
Belittling the issue, right? Because you know that nobody just got up and said, maybe I'm having a headache or I'm not in a good mood, so let's postpone it.
Okay. That's fine.
There are issues that need to be dealt with.
And come 28th January, we will have our ambulances. Hopefully, we won't hear any more stories, and every district will get the ambulance. That's according to the health minister, at least. So 28th of January, we'll get the ambulances. We'll now take a look at our final story. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and WhatsApp line 0550585832. I'm reading from citinewsroom.com, and it says here, opposition political parties to demonstrate against EC over new voters register. So I'm reading here. It says a group of opposition political parties known as the Inter-Party Resistance Against New Voter Register. I mean, the name says it all. Inter-Party Resistance Against New Voter Register have planned to stage 3 different demonstration exercises against the Electoral Commission to protest the compilation of a new voters register ahead of the 2020 general elections. The decision to compile a new register has been met with criticisms by these interested parties and other stakeholders, as well as sections of the public. Addressing the press on Monday, the founder of All People's Congress, Hassan Ayariga, said the exercise by the EC is aimed at disenfranchising some electorates, hence their decision to undertake series of actions to convey their disapproval of the decision by the EC. So the group is made up of NDC, PNC, UPP, APC, and UFP. I'm going to quote them briefly. They said, we hold the view that any attempt to spend an additional CD of Ghana's taxpayers' money on a new register will amount to complete wastage and needless spending of limited state resources. The coalition will embark on a demonstration on Saturday, January 11th in Tamale at the Jubilee Park, and of course we'll follow it up in Kumasi on Tuesday, 21st, and climax it with Penne demonstration in Accra on the 28th of January. So we are going to commission our ambulances on the 28th, and we're also going to have a demonstration on the 28th. Gabriella, I'll allow you address this issue with the EC.
Yes, so last week the NDC had a press conference outlining some of our disagreements with going for new voters. We don't think that is necessary at this time. Subsequently, that smaller parties have also come on board. There was a press conference on Monday explaining within the group.
Why 3 demonstrations?
Why 3 demonstrations? Well, there's a northern belt, a middle belt, and a southern belt.
Okay.
And demonstrations is a fundamental right of the people.
Do you feel like this EC is a listening EC?
First of all, my take with this whole thing is this EC a listening EC? I don't think it is, because there was a deputy in charge of operations who I think was yesterday or this morning is reported to have said that they're still going to go ahead with the new register, whether the other parties agree or not. I mean, the EC will not be there if we don't have a democracy. And we have a democracy because of multi-party rule. So if you would not listen to the views and the voices of your IPAC members when they say that they don't want to undertake anything, I mean, why? That's not a good way to go. And some of the reasons she was outlining was that we've had new regions and so new polling station demarcations and all that. I took my ID card and I was actually looking at I have a polling station code. And I guess everybody knows where this polling station is. So I thought the EC has to do a better job. Are they identifying which polling stations are in which districts and which regions those districts now are?
Okay.
I don't think it really changes. It's not a credible excuse for this. All I hear with this whole register, I think they just want to procure something and spend on another thing. Okay. 400 million, that's a lot of money. That's how much it cost us to provide free SHS. They sent a budget to Parliament, 1.9. They gave them 1.6 billion to do an election. 1.6 billion at a time when people can't figure their life from their right. Everybody is complaining about cost of living and unbearable. I mean, we should empathize more with the people and not just go every day procurement. It's not necessary.
Let me give Lawuratu an opportunity to respond. We have just 30 seconds to
yes, Dziffa, what I'll say is situation. For the MPP, this has been our call since 2012. You remember what happened when we tried staging, we did a demonstration. People were giving the beating of their lives. Almost cowed into silence.
But
and
shouldn't
all that.
the EC try and
yes,
cooperate with these political parties?
I'm not here to speak for the EC. And the EC didn't just wake up one morning and say, I don't like this new system. They've given us reasons why. And we are in support of any reform that will enhance the credibility of our voter role.
Even if the other opposition parties don't agree?
Well, I think they should be engaging the EC more rather than running around.
Don't you think they've engaged the EC enough?
Well, I mean, Dziffa, we all know the issues with it. To the extent that the then EC said the system was compromised. Will you be comfortable knowing that you live in your country and another person is controlling your voter register? We need to address some of these issues. Okay. I think it's high time that we started thinking about our nation, thinking about the next generation rather than the next election. I think we need to get that one clear. This voter register is what determines who leads the nation. Right. This is a register that has had so many issues. Look at the quantum of money the EC had to use to clean this. We are talking about not having enough revenue. Now they are proposing getting a system that is cheaper, easy to maintain, as compared to what we have now. And you are pushing against it. So what are you pushing against it?
Thank you both very much for being with us for Breakfast Daily. Happy New Year and a happy new decade to both of you. Lawuratu Musah, Saaka is a communications team member of NPP, and Gabriella Tetteh is also a communications team member of the NDC. Thank you so much for staying with us. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the show. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.